Welcome to the very first episode of What You Talking About. Our first guest today is Jennifer Muir. She is the first ever individual Scottish athlete to go to a CrossFit Games Semi-final, and she'll be competing at Strength and Depth in Berlin next weekend. We really hope you enjoy the chat, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and share for more episodes and content. Enjoy! Jen Muir, thank you so much for joining me on our very first episode. How are you? How are you feeling about everything that you've got going on and coming up in the next few weeks?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm feeling good. I am looking forward to it. Just from watching like the semis at the weekend there, it's like quite exciting to kind of see like all the layout of all the events and stuff. So it's got me excited and nervous.
You've had such an incredible few years, and we're going to go into kind of semis in more detail in a bit, but kind of going way back, how did you find CrossFit? Because you seem to have kind of improved so much, and it's all happened super quickly for you. Well, it looks that way on the outside. I'm sure there's a lot of kind of work and everything and behind the scenes, but where did it kind of start for you?
So I started like in swimming, so swimming background, and I did that from like the age of 9 up until about age 14, 15, where I then kind of transitioned to triathlon. We would do like a lot of like land training with swimming, so there was like a lot of running involved, and then I was like naturally kind of just picked up the bike, so slotted into triathlon quite quickly. But I only actually did that for like a year or two because I was going into kind of my exam year at school, and triathlon, like CrossFit, is so like time demanding to train for. So I just could not fit it all in. And from going from like training full time to then like barely training, I like needed to keep my fitness up somehow. So I started just going to the gym, didn't really know what I was doing. But there was a powerlifting group in the gym, and one of them was like, "Oh, like you move quite well, you should give powerlifting a go." So I did powerlifting for like a year and a half to 2 years. And then that kind of ties me into CrossFit. So when we went into lockdown, I was just like bored of powerlifting training because it like had so much time, and powerlifting training doesn't demand that much of your time. It's like 4 sessions, 5 sessions max a week. So my friend was like, I started running again and just like going out on my bike, and my friend was like, "You'd be like really good at CrossFit, like with the weights and the endurance kind of fitness." And I had never heard of it. I actually, the gym that I train at and work at is like 500 meters from my house. Had no idea it was even there, like didn't know it existed. So then when we came out of lockdown, I decided to join. And I've just like loved it. Like came like my love for competing and like training to that competitive level, like just all came back. I, like just felt like it was for me. So because I've enjoyed it so much, I feel like that's probably why everything's happened so quickly, because I've just like threw myself into it. So yeah.
I love that. And so were you quite a natural athlete as a child then? Obviously starting swimming quite young and then going into triathlon. Did it come quite easy for you, or did obviously you have to work it anyway, but were you
Yeah.
quite an active child and you really enjoyed kind of I suppose like early mornings and training? Did you always have that mindset?
Yeah, so I guess like the commitment and kind of like the dedication to training and the recovery, and like like I never was, because I've kind of been involved in sport, I'm never really going out or anything like that. So I never really felt like I was sacrificing like social events or anything like that. Like the training and everything that comes with it was the stuff that I love doing anyway. So that was like my life, like from the get go. So never found that difficult. And then the conditioning kind of fitness side of CrossFit, I've really like enjoyed, from obviously that triathlon background. And then the weightlifting, powerlifting was like a great help for that, just like being used to have being used to having that weight and not feeling like it's daunting or anything like that. The hardest part for me, because I've never done it, is picking up the gymnastics.
I think a lot of people agree with you there. I think, you know, it's one of them things, isn't it? That
Yeah.
unless you are a gymnast as a child, it's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what is this? It's so strange. I mean, I did gymnastics as a child barely, and still I'm like, no thanks. Give me a barbell.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first ever like WOD that you did in a box?
I actually don't. I wish I did. So my first class was obviously coming out of lockdown, so it was September 2020 was my first class. And I'm sure it was the 3rd of September. It's funny I remember that. But I actually don't remember the class, but I remember it just being like you were only allowed 1 hour in the gym a day. And like everything was very like in your own box, in your own bubble. So yeah, that we were in that kind of pattern for 2 months. Then we went back into lockdown. So from like the November to the April in Scotland, we were in lockdown. So I got like 2 months of 1 hour classes a day and then back into lockdown. So it was really like May 2021 that I was like, right, I'm learning everything. So yeah.
So your first open, so 2021 open, was when it was all, you could do it kind of from home, right? So did you do it from, was it your garage you did it in? Did you have kind
Yeah,
of a bit of a setup? What was that like?
it was good. So my friend Martin had just kind of told me, like, because I'd literally been in CrossFit for like 2 months, still didn't know what the open was or the games or really anything like that. And he was like, oh, it's just like an online fitness competition, like it's no big deal. He was like, I'm gonna do it, you should do it. So we did it in my garage, and we got like the pull-up bar fitted the week before. Um for this online comp. I'm like getting a pull up bar fitted, and I can literally do like toast the bars and singles. I was like right in the right commit. But yeah, so we did that in my garage. I had like barbells and plates, obviously from the powerlifting. So yeah, we did that in my garage.
Oh, and so obviously you say you're quite new to the gymnastics movements. You've had a little bit of experience in the 1 hour a day classes. How does that then, did it give you more motivation knowing that you kind of had loads to work on, or was it like, what was your feeling about going back into CrossFit after that open?
Yeah, so I guess with the being in the lockdown again, I was like, right, nothing I can do about not learning the gymnastics. But I can focus on trying to learn the weightlifting. So tried to learn weightlifting during that time. And then when the lockdown lifted, I was like, right, I need to hammer these gymnastic skills so that I can actually start like getting into some competitions and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of the motivation from when we got back into the gym, was like start learning the gymnastics.
Yeah. And did you know you wanted to compete quite early on in your CrossFit kind of career?
Yeah, so um like my whole kind of like sporting like journey as a kid and stuff, I've always said when anybody's ever asked me what do you want to do, it's like always be an athlete. But as much as I love sport, I never really felt like I'd found my sport. So my older brother, he's a swimmer as well, and like he just loves swimming, so committed to it. And I would just look at him like, do you ever like not want to go to the pool? Like, do you ever not want to go back swimming? But like I totally get it now with CrossFit, because like there really isn't a time where I'm like, I don't want to go to CrossFit. I'm like, yay, let's go to CrossFit. So I feel like, yeah, I've now like found my sport.
Yeah. And it's obviously paying off. You've done loads of comps, obviously, the last few years, but what was your first comp you did? Do you remember?
Yeah, so it was last May, and it was Castle Games. That was my first. Well, that was my first individual RX. I did Trinity Wars as a team of 3 in the scaled the August before that. That was like
Wow.
my like ever comp.
And did you, because I think there's such a thing about live competition, particularly in CrossFit, because it's such a kind of community and everything. Did you get a proper buzz from doing that straight away, even kind of, you know, being super, super new to the sport?
Yeah, and for me as well, like because I'd had so little time in the gym with lockdown and everything like that, I just wanted to like meet people and learn more about the sport. Because like I'd never really seen how it ran or like how events were run or anything like that. So, yeah, it was important for me to kind of like get those experiences as well.
It's so great. And so like fast forward then, I suppose 2022 Open, where I can imagine looking back at the difference between 2021 and 2022, not only just obviously being in a gym, but obviously honing in on your gymnastics and everything. Did you have a goal going into the Open last year that you wanted to hit?
No, so because I literally had no idea where I would place. So that open being like my first open in the gym was really to see where I would stack up, and then from there, take it from there. So I think I was 95th, and when I kind of seen that score and I knew like the top 60 would go to semis, I was like, right, next year I want to be in that top 60. So last year's open really just set the goal for me for this year.
Yeah, and obviously, I suppose the last year you've obviously since done a lot more comps. You've podiumed a lot in the UK and around kind of. Did that prepare you going in? Because obviously the Open's quite different because you're on your own, and I know you've done a lot of kind of pairs comps and individual. But is it all just preparation, or do you take it as one? You know, every individual comp is an individual comp, or is it all leading towards this one thing?
Yeah, so I think a bit of both really. So like each comp obviously is like different, like whatever environment, whatever kind of like scale it's on as well. Just like where like the comp's held or like how many people have signed up for the comp and stuff. But the reason I kind of flung myself into competition last year is because I wanted that competitive experience, so that I could like have time to make mistakes, learn from them, like be put in uncomfortable situations that I would be like, right, did not like that, need to get better at that. So yeah, that was kind of why I like flung myself into competing last year, so that I had like experience and I was prepared as well.
Yeah. Are there any particular comps that you want to that are like massive highlights for you that you really loved?
Honestly, I loved them all. Like Battle of Middlebourne, Ragnarok. Um, I absolutely loved. I feel like that was probably one that, so Lucy Campbell had done it prior and she had won it. And then when I'd won it, and I like so many people were so supportive over social media and stuff. I was like, right, like you can do this. So that was kind of one that gave me like a bit of faith in myself. So yeah, that one probably.
Amazing. And then, so fast forward, you are officially qualified. You are going to semis this year. Did you working through that Open? How much pressure did you put on yourself, I suppose, or how like what was that experience like, knowing that you had a goal that you wanted to hit this year?
Um, yeah, like when I seen the workout, so day one, the strict handstand push up one, I knew was going to be bad for me. I'm terrible at them. Got big orangutan arms, and just pressing for days. So when I seen that one, I was like, right, that is kind of damage limitation. Like literally do as well as I can. So I think after day one, I want to say I was like place like 93rd. So going into day two, I knew I had to claw back, but I knew that event four was going to be a good event for me, like the Roan and the GHDs. So I just tried to go in with it with confidence, really, just being like this is your chance now to kind of claw this back here. And then the Sunday was really just don't don't lose all the places you close back. So yeah, but I actually went to GST and did it in Wigan with the GST lot, and like those guys are just so professional. Like it was so well organized. Like I was like I didn't have any stress. Like everything was set up for me. All I really had to focus on was doing the workout. So yeah, I can't thank those guys enough for that.
How much difference does it make being part of, you know, a company, an organization like that, where you've got all that support? How did that all kind of come about that you were going to be part of that team?
So last year when I wasn't really following a program, but a few people in the gym, a couple of them were following Mayhem, a couple of them were following GST, and when I was deciding about kind of going on to a program, I had been jumping in on like more of the GST workouts more, and I liked them. And GST were also kind of doing like these regional days. So the guys were actually from GST coming to one of the regional days last January in Scotland. So I joined then, and I actually got to meet them. So that was when like I kind of said to them, I was like, how do you like get involved with like coming to Wigan and training at Wigan? And they were just so friendly and welcoming. They were like, oh, come whenever you want. So I actually went and did like the first open workout with them last February, and then ever since I just keep going back like every 2 months training with them, and just like yeah, getting involved. But like the community and the support that they provide is just next level. Like I'm so glad I am part of it, and like I cannot thank those guys enough.
And does it make a massive difference having people, because you know obviously in every single box across the, you know, the world, everyone's training for different things and everyone's got different goals. Does it make a difference being among them people that have kind of similar goals to you and similar things that they want to hit for the season in particular?
Yeah, massively. So like Ella, I've become really good friends with Ella. And we're like the same age, and she's just like a huge inspiration for me. So like getting to train with her and like, you know, seeing how she does stuff has been like probably huge in like my development as an athlete. So yeah, she's been great. And she's like one of my best pals now. So it's amazing.
It's so great, isn't it? Because I think, and that's obviously what people talk about, particularly in CrossFit a lot, is the community sense of it. And I suppose when you're doing, I assume competing can be quite lonely at times and going off and having these goals. So having someone that's heading for the same thing must really, really help. And obviously you've done comps together as well. How is it competing with friends? Because I feel so much pressure. How do you
Oh,
find that kind of dynamic when you're competing next to each other?
I love it. Like, so we the first kind of one I did as a like big team was we did strength and depth with like Team Scotland, and that was like a team of 12, and that was how I got to meet like the guys in Scotland. Um, so like people from like all over Scotland were in this team of 12, and it was just so fun. I loved it. And then the following year, so like this year actually, we did strength and depth with JST, and I got to meet like more people on JST. And it was just so fun. Like I feel like every single person brings something to the team. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's like, to me it's like a weekend out. I'm like, yay.
Do you put
So good.
more or less pressure on yourself competing as a team or like a pair than you do on your own?
Um Probably more individual.
Yeah. Is the team's more fun for you now?
Yeah. Yeah, team I'd say like yeah, I feel less pressure in team. Because I feel like the pressure is shared among
Hmm.
how many people are in that team. Whereas when it's just you, it's like, I'll take all the pressure by myself.
It's like if it goes well, it's on me. If it goes bad, it's on me.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I suppose we are like a week out from semis, strength and depth. How are you feeling? Like, how are the nerves? Is it like, are you on deload? What's the kind of vibe at the moment?
So I am loaded with a cold. but apparently this is a good week to get it. So hopefully next week I'll be fine. But I feel like, do you know what? Like, I will never feel fully prepared. Like, I feel like, because when you try and do stuff to a top level, like, you can always do it better. So I feel like, um I'm just excited now to go and do it. It's going to be what it is. Like, I'm going to give it my all and I'll learn from it, like, get a good experience my first year at semis. And yeah, I'm just like really looking forward to go and enjoying it. My whole family are coming and all my friends from my gym are coming. So, like, I'm really excited for them to come and see and like get the experience for all of them as well. So yeah, like, I can't wait.
Oh, it's so nice to have that kind of support, especially because it's abroad this year. Obviously, it was in London last year.
Yeah.
How much difference do you think it will make having people there in the crowds kind of cheering you on in particular? Because there's always going to be people cheering and crowds, but having that kind of one-on-one support, how do you think it's going to make a difference?
Yeah, I think it will probably make more difference like after the events. So, like, during the events, probably not going to even see them in the crowd, but after the events, like, to chill with them and like go chat to them and like get, just get like a cuddle and stuff off them. Like, it's just gonna be great. I'm so excited that like they're all coming.
It is set to be a great event. Obviously, we've just had a couple of semi-finals over the weekend. Does that kind of relax the nerves watching it? So you've got a bit more of an understanding of, maybe how to do things or the layouts. How did you find watching it over the weekend?
Yeah, I feel Europe is in a great position being the last one because I loved watching it. Just even to see like the floor layout and stuff. Um and like, just seeing like how far the transitions are and everything like that for each event. I thought that was like it's probably had settled my nerves, like, having watched that, then going into like the complete, like, obviously the workouts, but like the complete unknown with like the setup and the equipment and stuff. So yeah, I loved watching it.
Have you been making notes?
No, I mean, not notes, but um yeah, it's been good seeing like people like thrive on certain events, and then like maybe they've had like a bad event on other areas but they've still done well. Because like, I know for me, like, the handstand push-ups are going to be hard, the rings are going to be hard, but like, I'm really looking forward to Linda and the first event as well with the sled.
Mhm.
So it's been quite nice to see like, oh, you can have good and bad events and like it's still going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, you just answered my next question because my next question was going to be which event are you looking forward to the most? So
Yeah,
you say Linda.
yeah, I would say Linda.
Have you practiced any of them yet?
Yes, I've practiced Linda. I've practiced the first one as well as I can because like the sled is just different. With like the distance and like the length of the rope and stuff. And then have I practiced any other ones? So we did. I'm actually just back from London. I did like a semi simulation with my friend Aoife. So we have kind of practiced them all as well as we could have. So like the snatching event, we didn't have like an assault runner, so we did like just like a loop run. So like slightly different, but yeah, we've practiced them as well as we could have.
How are you feeling? Obviously, there's some new movements and combinations thrown in this year, like handstand pirouettes and the ring kind of complex. How does it feel when they literally throw in something that you've probably never done before? Is it quite fun or is it more nerve-wracking knowing that it's going to be on the competition floor?
Yeah, probably more nerve wracking. I would like, if they it would be cool if they like brought out a new movement and then everybody had time to actually practice it. But I guess it's part of the sport, like being able to adapt and pick up like new movements and new skills quickly. So yeah, it is what it is.
And in kind of preparation, this is something I've always really interested with people, particularly obviously you've been an athlete for a lot of your life. what is your kind of like mental preparation going into this? Like, do you kind of, particularly in the weeks leading up to it, like, is there more work you do to kind of make sure you're on top of your game, like mentally as well as physically? Because it's a lot of pressure, and it's, you know, particularly now CrossFit's growing as a sport with, you know, social media and everything. What is there anything you do differently leading up to a kind of an event where you're going to be pretty much on a world stage? Is there anything you've kind of done to prepare?
So my coach actually, like, he's always like saying to me, like, you need to focus more. But my like my way of dealing with my nerves is like chatting and singing and dancing and laughing. And whereas he's like in the zone, like, don't talk to me. But no, so I feel like leading up to it, no, I just like seeing friends, like taking my mind off it type thing, not really like letting it consume me. And then in the warm up area, it's just like focusing on like what I know I need to focus on, like technique points or whatever it is I'm going into, or if it's pacing elements of the workout. But yeah, like I quite like chatting to people and like just like keeping myself nice and calm.
Yeah, so we'll be looking on the live stream for like you dancing, like ready before the heat.
100%. And my coach will be like, that, would you focus? And I'll be like,
I think that's the best way to be though sometimes. I know everyone has obviously their little, you know, things that they do, but if that's the way that you get prepared, and why not?
yeah, I agree.
It would be great, and we're definitely going to keep an eye out for that now. Obviously all of the semi-finals have CrossFit legends competing. Europe particularly has got some amazing people. How do you feel about being like on a competition floor with potentially people that I assume you look up to and that are goals for you? How's that? Like, do you fangirl? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, like I do fangirl. I'm like, oh my god, but I as well though I'm like one step closer to hopefully being like them one day, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm excited to compete alongside them, and it'll probably like open my eyes to the level they're at. I'll be like, oh my god, is
Is
it?
there is there anyone in particular that you're probably going to fangirl over?
Laura Horvath and Emma Toll.
Amazing. Obviously, like semis, it's so close now. It's officially kind of here. The training, is it all done and dusted now? Like, what does your last week look like now leading up to it?
So I don't really know because Stevie kind of gives me bits by bit. So, for example, I have tomorrow's training, and then I don't know what I'm doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I don't actually know. But I would imagine I am normal training for the rest of this week. And then I'd imagine, so I travel on Monday to Berlin. So I imagine on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it'll probably just be like a one session a day type training, and
Yeah.
then probably rest or active recovery. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday compete.
Yeah. And it's obviously a lot of volume in, you know, the 3 days that you're competing. How does that kind of tally up to how your normal day-to-day training is? Is it a hell of a lot more, or is that do you feel quite prepared to kind of go in and be like, no, my body's used to this, I can handle it?
So I think physically your body is used to, like, you train way more than the like what you're actually doing in a competition day. So like physically you do loads more training than like a 20-minute and a 5-minute event in the one day. So I feel like physically you're used to it, but the mental kind of drain, just being like in that environment, and then like emotions being so high to then like relaxing and then being back up high again for your next event, like that is the hard part. So like when we were on that simulation at the weekend there, I was napping in between events. So tired. So hopefully I can do that actually on the day as well, because it definitely helps.
Yeah, I always wish they had like a live stream in like the warm-up area or like the athlete area, because I think it would be so interesting to see what everyone does in between, because I can imagine it's very different for for
Yeah.
everyone. But if you nap, that's a great way to get through the day.
Yeah. So if I can find like a quiet-ish spot, I will nap.
Are you one of them people that can sleep anywhere?
Yeah.
Very jealous. So kind of my final question about semis is, do you have a goal in mind for the weekend?
No, so the goal this year for me was to make it to semis, and then anything more is a bonus. So it's really, again, like last year's open, see where I stack up so that hopefully next year my goal will be the games.
Yeah, amazing. And so is your mind kind of already on like next season, or is it like you're gonna do this weekend, obviously see where you're at, and then
Yeah.
have a rest, or do you just kind of completely straight away go into right, what's next year?
No, so I think like I'm just kind of keeping an open mind, like anything could happen, do you know, don't think I will make it. But saying that, like the at the semis at the weekend, Sydney Wells, she got no reps on that ring muscle up event and has still made the games. So I'm just like, never say never. But
You
yeah.
never know. And as you
Yeah.
say, like you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be an amazing event. There's a really obviously well stacked field, but it's going to be really, really fun to watch. Are you obviously there's going to be a lot of nerves and obviously a lot of hard work, but are you excited? Like, do you think you'll enjoy the whole weekend in general?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like, I think as well, just like all my friends and my family being in Berlin is just going to be so funny. And like, they are so excited. Some of my friends, well, actually, the majority of my friends have never seen me compete. And my brothers haven't seen me compete either. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing. Do they like understand CrossFit? I know that sounds like a silly question, but I often find when you get people that have never watched CrossFit before and they're watching and they're like, what on earth is going on? I'm so confused. There's so many different elements. Do they understand like what you're doing and what you're going for? Are they quite well like up to date on their knowledge of it all?
So my brothers and my sister are just from being like involved in sport and stuff, but my mum will be clueless. She will have absolutely no idea what's going on, so that'll be quite funny.
Well, we'll look out for her in the crowd as well then, because it'll be
Yeah.
great to watch. I'm gonna let you go soon, but I am gonna start a brand new podcast, but we're gonna have a quick fire round with some of my favorite questions to ask people in general. So firstly, your favorite lift,
Clean.
favorite overall movement,
Um, hmm, what is my favorite one? I'm gonna say back squat.
nice. Your preferred shoes to train in,
Metcons.
an accessory you can't live without.
My like wrist warmers for your grips.
That's a
um,
great accessory. What about your favorite benchmark workout?
I'm probably gonna have to say Linda.
Well, no pressure for this weekend now. You've said
I
that.
know,
You've
probably
said that on record.
to hear, but
And my final question, this is like, I mean, I'm a massive CrossFit fan girl, obviously, and I love asking this question to people. But if you could build a dream team to go to the games, with or without yourself, who would you have on it?
So this is where you're gonna get me on my CrossFit knowledge because I am clueless. Um, so can this just be like who I would want to go
Yeah,
with?
of course.
Okay, so it would be me, Ella, Stevie, and then what other boys I want on that team? Matt Fraser.
You're like, pick any CrossFitter.
Stevie knows Matt. We'll go with Matt Fraser.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's funny, isn't it, how you can be so in it, but it's so large that you can't keep up with everything. It's impossible.
So Yeah, like being particularly like kind of new to the sport, and you'd think I would actually go and like learn about the history or anything, but I am clueless. So when I first met Stevie, I had no idea he'd been to the games. It was like months later, I was like, "Have you been to the games?" And he was like, "Are you kidding me on?" I was like, "I'm so clueless." So
I mean, sometimes it's the best way to be, though.
yeah, and like my friend, he is so clued up across it, like knows all the benchmarks and all the like the athletes, and he'll say stuff to me all the time. I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "You know nothing about your own sport." I'm like, ignorance is bliss."
Well, I was going to ask you what your Fran time was, but do you know that?
No, no,
So I'm glad
no,
I didn't.
no. I think I've done it once, and it was at a regionals day. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think, yeah, ignorance is bliss sometimes. Maybe you wouldn't have got to where you are if you'd have known.
This is true.
So there you go. So obviously you've got a big few weeks coming up, potentially a big few months. But looking ahead, what are your kind of, where do you want to get to in CrossFit? Obviously you said the games, but like what are your kind of overall goals for your CrossFit career?
Yeah, so for me, I think I will just kind of keep making goals as I go. So like this year semis, hopefully next year the games, and then like where I stack up at the games will then be like where I take those goals. So like maybe it's like top 20, top 10, top 5, and like just kind of keep ticking off, making goals and ticking off goals from there. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure we are going to see a lot of you in the next few years. And obviously in the next few months, we'll be cheering you on. Just a quick one, where can people find you on Instagram, on socials? And if you want to if you've got any discount codes, anything you want to promote, I know you've got your t-shirts up for sale still. Where can people find everything?
So everything's really on my Instagram, which is Jennifer Muir 99 is my handle. So everything's really on there. And I'm really chatty. So if you ever need me, just message.
I love that. So thank you so much for being our first ever guest. We will be cheering you on next week at semis and wish you the best of luck. And just thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us.
No, thank you for having me.